This is the fourth podcast of The Psychic and the Detective, Lorraine and Neil. And in this podcast, we're going to be talking about space-time reality and the source energy. So, Lorraine?
Hello everyone. So yeah, the source. Okay, so when before us souls, and I'm going to say souls, that can cover humans, it can cover dogs, cats, any animal, anything that's living, whether on this planet or on a different planet, we are all souls. So we all come from the source. When I've channeled with my guide Ramos, you'll hear me mention him loads today. He says we all come through from the Big Bang. Now, I wanted to know what caused the Big Bang, but I was never told. And he tells me it's not up to me to tell you, but you'll find out soon enough. So then at one stage I thought maybe I was going to pass away, but no. So anyway, so the Big Bang, so scientists have got it quite right. Yes, there was a Big Bang that took place, and we are little heartbeats, so we're little energy. And we go to the source, and this is like, you can imagine a big light energy pot. So you can imagine you've got all the little flickers of the heartbeats up there. And before we come and learn, because it's like planet Earth, any life experience, it's like a play, my guide tells me. We all come down here and we're playing our part in, as in our case, the world. So if I'm being honest with you, what I've actually been told, and most people are going to say, oh God, we've actually chose our pathway, we chose our life, we chose certain things that we have to come down and learn, because people need to learn from us. So it's yin and yang. So if I said to Neil, for example, I don't like your shirt, he's going to be offended and think I don't like your shirt either. So that kind of thing. So we have to come and learn about being a human in our case. So spirit, they call it the source. So when we actually leave this earth plane and go back to the source, then we'll go back and they say, well, you know what have you actually learned? What can you put into this book of knowledge? So, I honestly, truly believe, by what Spirit tells me, that we're just playing our own roles on this big stage show.
So that's interesting, Lorraine, because what I was picking up there was everything around us has got some form of energy.
Everything.
People can understand that electricity makes this computer work. They can make the light work, even to the effect. And I think of energy also as, you get radio waves.
Mhm.
Yeah, where the radio station's sending out a signal, and then you've got your transistor or your radio. I'm showing my age now saying transistor, but you've got a radio that will pick up those, and you then can hear the sounds and you can hear the music that's being sent over the airwaves almost, isn't it?
Yes.
And so I suppose if we get talking about getting in touch with the source energy, it is like that the universe is sending out certain signals to us, and that we can pick up, and I think some of the things that you've said before is about we come here to learn lessons.
We come here to learn lessons. So my guide Ramos, like I said, I'm going to mention him quite a lot today. He tells me we've got 1 in a 25 billion% of being born on planet Earth, and you've got 1 in 100 trillion% of being born human.
Okay.
That's how big the source pot is.
Yeah.
people say to me, and I've asked my guide many times, do we just always come back as humans? The answer's no. But we have to start somewhere. So we've all been a plant somewhere down the line. We've all been a cat, a dog, a horse. But with them energies like sheep, cows, we've all been something before we actually become human. And it is a privilege to be human, because we are the main performers on the stage of the earth. Plus, we're supposed to be the carers of the earth as well.
So if we're the caretakers,
Mm-hmm.
that brings us on to another thing really, is if we're the caretakers of this earth, we're not doing very well, are we?
We're doing a really, really bad job. And so much so that we are being very carefully watched, because we know that every action has a reaction, which we spoke about just a minute ago. But, on a bigger, wide thought process of it, and a bigger, wide devastation, is if and when, for example, the bomb went off in Japan all those years ago, it had a massive impact on a different universe system, because it was yin and yang. And around the time of that, there was lots of alien spaceships there. So there was lots of people seeing funny objects in the sky. But again, the government and the religious sources, they didn't want us to know, because of us being controlled in many ways by the system of, they call themselves the elite. I don't know what I'd really call them, but they call themselves the elite, the fortunate ones. So again, the angels come down. You could call them aliens, you could call them angels, you can call them whatever you like to call them, but they've come down to try to protect us. And if you just read, about the paranormal at the moment, there is a great seeing and sighting of alien ships and people being abducted right now.
And I think, have you had any experiences of that?
I've been abducted. Well, I've had 3 actually. And that's made him cough. Okay, so my first one was when I was quite young. So I say young, I was about 12, 13. And we used to go to my granddad and my nan's caravan in Kent, and it used to be on the cliffs. And me and my friend at the time, we would sit on the cliffs, and as kids used to just throw stones down. And anyway, we were sitting there, that it only seemed like seconds to us, but we just felt that there was this presence. And then we didn't know or see anything until we heard our parents screaming our names. And but we were still sitting on the cliff. And so my mum and dad, they were going stir crazy. Where was you? Told you not to leave there. And we're saying we've not left. We were still there. And but we had markings on the palm of our hands, both of us, bruises, and on our tummy. And Mum's like, where'd you get those bruises from? I said, I don't know. And so, but then I was having flashbacks in dreams, I was in, and it wasn't like what you see in the films, but it was like I was put into some kind of oxygen chamber. But they were just taking these pictures. All I could see was they were taking, but it wasn't pictures like we took pictures. It was quite not even in 3D. When people have scans, they all got 3D scan, but this was in 20D. It was almost like they could see the organs all kind of energizing. It was a really weird scenario. So anyway, when I spoke to the girl that I was many years after, she said she was having the same thing, and you know she would be having these reoccurring dreams. And but we were young, we didn't think anything of it, just laughed it off. And maybe just 2 months ago, I was doing a reading for one of my children, and I said on a Wednesday something magical is going to happen. And so she just made a comment about something that she had planned on the Wednesday. I went, oh, okay. But that was 2 Wednesdays after. So we go to this place that we call the Stones. It's in Essex in the UK. And it's like an old Druid kind of stony area. And we go up there and we could do a bit of meditation, a bit of manifestation. And then all of a sudden, we look over to our left, and in the sky, just above the trees, was like a... People think of a spaceship as being round, don't they? But this was more like an oblong, kind of like a loaf of bread kind of shape. But a long loaf of bread. But it had these lights or these colours that we were just like drawn to. And then we don't remember anything else other than this. And then the next thing we remember, we're walking down this road on the wrong side of the road with the grass up to our waistline, weeds and bushes, and one of my other children come driving frantically past in a car screaming, where have yous two been? We've been looking for yous. Well, we said, you know where we've been? We went to the Stones. No, you wasn't there. And so...
And how much time had passed?
About 2 hours, maybe even more, because, you know, we usually do an hour of meditation and manifestation. So I think we got there about 7 o'clock, and I don't think we arrived home to gone 11. So it was quite a long time. But again, and we had markings on our palms and markings on the back of our neck, and we both had this feeling like we have been, not like, you know, like a pressure on the chest. It was just really weird, and that lasted, and it was almost like we didn't feel like we fitted back into our bodies in some way, and it took at least a week to start feeling normal-ish again. But we also was very much like our, this sounds a bit strange, but it was almost like our skin felt different. It felt, and it was really hot. You've got to imagine, we've had probably the hottest summer in a long time in the UK, but our skin felt really cold to the touch all the time, even though it was boiling hot. So it was quite a weird sensation. So anyway, the following Wednesday, my daughter had to go and do what she had to do, and so the Wednesday after, we go back there thinking, oh, nothing ever's going to happen again, and there it was again. But this time, it was almost like we felt ourselves lift off the ground. And again, when we come back, we was in a different place to where we were sitting.
So you started off sitting somewhere, and then when you come, if you like, come back into your earthly body again, you was in somewhere totally different.
See, I do think we were still in our earthly body up in that where we was. I mean, in this like big ship, and you know, and it was nothing like what the telly or the films imagine it to be. It was almost like these beings that I can, and my child remembers seeing, they had these really long penetrating, like, I don't know, it's just like, you couldn't even see even what colour there was. It was like a colour that we've never really seen on the earth, and that. So I know that people talk about the greys, the light greys, dark. Nothing like the grey is what I've seen. Nothing like. But it was almost like they needed to be in a fluid. And I know that sounds strange, but they were like covered in a fluid, but they put us in something that wasn't fluid, which really weird.
So I just sort of been given a vision there of you're almost, when you're with them, you're in like a liquid bubble.
That's it, yes.
And that's how they survive.
Ah.
But they've put you so that you're not quite in that atmosphere, but they could observe you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But you know, and when the last time, it was almost like if I said to you, when our feet touched the ground, we could still feel it was hovering.
Yeah. Okay.
And we looked, and not even a blink of an eye, it was just gone. And my son, who's very into his computers, I said to him,
It's a programmer, isn't it?
He's a programmer, yeah, he makes the robots move on these games that the kids play. I said to him, I said, has there been any UFOs? He said, you know what? He said, let me check. And he said, there's been 3 sightings over the UK and 2 in America today.
Interesting.
Really interesting.
So where did they come from then, do you think?
Well, you know what? I really don't really still know. And it's definitely not this galaxy, definitely not this universe. Because what I was actually feeling, since you don't feel anything while you're up there.
No.
And it's really strange. But it's like the information they give us in dream states. And it's almost like they're working with our subconscious rather than our conscience. And so, you know, me and my daughter were both got told in the same dream. We were dreaming the same thing at the same time. And that, so I've been told through spirit and through what I've channeled in dreams that they're keeping a close eye on us, because if our planet self-destructs by mankind, then their universe will go as well.
Right. So they don't want that to happen.
They don't want that to happen, but they're saying it's closer than what it's been since, you know, the Japanese, what happened there in Japan.
In Hiroshima.
Yeah, and they're saying that
Nagasaki.
this is the closest. And but I don't know whether anyone out there has read my 3rd book, where Spirit actually predicted, Neil's got it, Deep Inside the Mind, and in America it's called the COVID Bible, but it was wrote at the beginning of COVID. But anyway,
because during that book you made some predictions, didn't you?
I did. Well, they did.
What were they predicting?
Well, they when the Ukraine war, the war from Russia and the Ukraine, also about the pharmaceutical companies. They were going to be the profiteers of all this, and now that's only just come out in the news this last week or 2. See, when I write, I don't actually write the book. I just kind of channel it, and so I don't quite know what gets said. And I've never ever read any of my books.
It's like now, I mean, we didn't plan what we were going to talk about this
Well, you did
today,
not talk. Yeah, it was like, okay, what we're gonna. Oh, I don't know. Let's just get guided.
Yeah.
But going back to the source, so the aliens or the angels, they've never had an earthly assistant, but they've had an assistant in a different universe. So what's our universe called? Is it the Milky Way? Are we in the?
Yeah, Milky Way, we've got our own galaxy, haven't we?
So
it's all to do with chocolate. Anyway.
Oh, it is, yeah, galaxy. But So, but I've just been told by the spirits as I now, that they're, for a human, any human flying machine to get to the aliens begins with G, where they come from, or something, I can't quite pronounce it. For us to get to them, it would take us 10 billion light years.
Okay.
For them to come to us, it's an heartbeat.
Fascinating. So obviously they're far more advanced than we are.
Well, they laughed at us because I remember in one of the dreams that I had, and they said, you're so behind that you have to eat other things to stay alive, where we stay in our fluid to stay alive.
So they don't have to eat.
They don't have to eat. They think it's quite barbaric what
Almost
we do.
primitive.
Yeah, primitive, yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, we were talking a little bit earlier about, our previous existence. We were talking about that we may have been in animal form, and we're lucky now to be in human form.
Mm-hmm.
What Spirit's saying is how often will we first of all, how often will we come back into human form?
Well, we might never come back into another human form.
Okay.
We might progress enough that we can go on to a different plane, a different solar system, a different energy force. We don't have to stay on planet Earth, but most of us do, because it's like coming home when we come here, and it's like coming home when we go back to the source. And sometimes soul don't like changes. So in a previous life, Neil, you could have been a chimpanzee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you would have
A
been...
lot of people say I'm a bit of a monkey now. Yeah.
So you could have been swinging through the jungle, and I could have been a parrot, do you understand? Looking and observing. So, we can be many different things. The great Dolores Cannon, I'd never really had the pleasure of meeting her when she was on the earth plane, and I know that she wasn't a medium, and I know she wasn't a channeler, but she done this form of regression that actually skipped into your past lives and back to the source. And since she's been passed away, I've actually channeled her 2 or 3 times, especially now that I'm dealing a lot with the alien forces.
That's very interesting, because I saw something of Dolores some time ago on YouTube, and she had this lady who was channeling Nostradamus.
Oh wow! Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about that Nostradamus one, and she's never spoke to me, but it's almost like time, space, and illusion. Okay,
Yeah.
so she could have been talking to Nostradamus, but he's still living in the 14th, 15th century.
Yes.
Okay, because that part of the play is still being played out.
This is all to do with the energies, isn't
It's
it?
all to do with the energies. So yin, yang, everything to do with the energies. So I know that in the 17th century, that being played out is another clone of my life force.
Yes.
And so you could, as a human, or it could have been as blah, 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 blah. But I know that my soul, all the clones, we are cloned, because, we all have to, because for a simple reason, something that you can all practice at home, okay? So when you know you're going to do something bad, right? And you know it's bad. So say if you're going to go in the shop and you think, oh God, I can't be bothered to queue up, but I want that chocolate, I'm just going to take it. So you're saying, I'm going to take it, but your subconscious is saying, that's really bad, because if you do that, what's going to happen? So not maybe happen to you in this life, but in a next life. So say if you've got a really bad, thing going on. So it's all to do with energy. And so there's many of us, some of us may in meditation see ourselves in like an old 1920s hotel,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where our subconscious or another part of our conscience is actually living that life right now. So it's really hard, and people might think now we're right off with the fairies, but when we do go back to the source, we do go back. So every one of our clones or our soul clones does go back, regroups, and then say, well, you're going to play out in the year 2022 and you're going to play out in the year 2091.
Okay.
So there's no time.
And I think that, going back to the animal kingdom, they don't have a watch on their wrists.
They don't have a watch, but they go by senses.
Well, it's the light as well, isn't it?
The
and
light,
it's all
yeah,
part of the
senses,
source, isn't it?
yeah.
It's a robin is probably one of the first British birds to wake up, and it wakes up as soon as there's a little bit of light, and one of the last to go to bed when there isn't the light. So to them, that's how they tell their time, but it's not time as we know it.
So changing the subject back to the aliens, they've just told me we're walking with yous.
Interesting. Okay.
We're walking with yous, and you will definitely see a shift. Some of the people that are on this earth plane that are playing big roles of destruction will be taken.
Okay. So by that, do you mean that some of the governments, some of the leaders?
Yes, the churches.
Yeah.
Yeah, all religious groups, because we think that they do the right thing by the people, but they don't really. Look at all their wealths, look at them worshipping all these gold idols, and look at them, where they're people outside of the churches, the homeless people, they've got
Beggars.
nothing. Yeah, beggars, they've got nothing, but in these big organisations, they've got everything. Humanity is not really there, anymore. Very few.
So, okay. I wanted to ask is, we've often talked about our spirit guides, and we're talking about aliens. Are there alien guides then? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, alien guides. Alien is just something that's never lived on planet Earth. So that would be alien.
Got you.
So your angels have never lived on planet Earth. So an alien is something that's not aligned to the Earth.
So we can't aspire to be an angel then?
Oh God, no.
Okay.
Oh, only me. No, we can't. Fallen one. No, we can't, because in the source they were chosen above to be in the like the kind of the realm keepers.
Okay.
So they are the keepers of the universes, and we're like the workers. But you know what? What privilege it is to be here today, and what privilege it is to see this world transition from something that's heading quite badly to becoming something quite remarkable again.
And when's that likely to happen?
I would like to say it be in our earthly lifetime, so we might not be part of the end result, but they're telling me this next 7 years there is going to be a big shift with all the energies linking together to create the world peace again.
Before we get to that world peace, are we going to have more turmoil?
Well, yes, we're heading that way, but I feel by what I'm being told, by why we are being watched so closely by the aliens, by the other realms, is that they're not going to allow us to get that far. They will interfere, because if we explode,
Yeah.
they explode as well.
I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about Japan, because that's when the first atomic bombs went off, and there was shockwaves all over the world, almost.
All over the world, all up in the universe, and all under the ground. We don't know what went on under there,
No.
but every action has had a reaction. So if I put this pen on this table, I've caused a reaction to that table.
Yeah.
Because I've laid something on it.
Okay. All right. So, so there is spiritual energy in everything. Then, even though to us it might be an inanimate object, it's recording, is it?
It is. Everything is playing its part. This desk is playing its part. The microphone, us going over the airways, is playing the part. The aliens are probably listening to this, thinking we might have to abduct her again because she was rubbish in portraying what we wanted to say.
And for a detective, he ain't got a flick of
And he
a
ain't got a clue. We're going to have to abduct him as well. Oh, God. On a Friday, you're going. Don't tell me what Friday. But anyway, they're laughing. But as Sony can see by what they're telling, if we don't get this balance right, they're going to balance it for us.
Okay.
But they've already tried. They've already been down, and they get intercepted. But they're coming back so powerful. They've allowed the governments to really see what they can do, but not the full extent. Our governments are very frightened of the extraterrestrials.
And do you think that they're the ones that are hiding a lot of what's going on from us?
Absolutely, those and the churches, religion.
Okay. Well, you say the churches, I think you probably mean all religions,
All
don't
religion, every religion, because, religion started off lovely. It started off to, keep people safe, abide by some general rules, and then man-made got their narcissistic energy into it and changed it for how they wanted it to be.
I mean, a lot of it, it's interesting that a lot of, perhaps, some of the major religions, the Jewish religion, the Christian religion, even the Islamic religion, have taken a lot of their festivals from what was going on before with the pagan festivals.
Yeah, because pagans, that's what we used to be. We come to the earth and we was blessed to have the sun, the moon, the stars, autumn, winter, all the different elements, the water, the rain, we had all these beautiful seasons that the source allowed us to experience. And then something so beautiful, the toxic energies come in and they kind of pull it all into their own little bubbles, which is quite sad. But before we stop talking about aliens, if you go to the pyramids, not just in Egypt, but also the ones in Bulgaria, people don't know about the ones in Bulgaria. They're under the ground rather than up the ground. What they called their drawings, their
hieroglyphics.
Yeah, that's it. Their drawings, and even the ones in Mexico, they've actually got brain surgery being performed.
Yeah.
And also IVF.
Yeah.
Where in these drawings. So back then in Egypt and in other countries, they were doing a great scientific-y kind of stuff, where us back in England, we were living in caves.
Yeah.
So it's...
But it's interesting you're saying about the different pyramids and sort of these ancient sites. And at that particular time, they didn't have the airplanes and very few sea travel. And yet a lot of what depicted is very much the same.
Absolutely. And I'm going to, if anyone has the privilege of going to Bulgaria, to a place just outside of Razlog, I can't remember the village. It's up in the middle of the mountains, and there's a church building. Now this church is of no, when it's of no religion, what's it called? No set religion, no.
Atheist.
Not atheists. When they don't just, they won't be Catholic, Christian.
Non-conformist.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But these pictures have been drawn, painted in this church since the 12th century. It's been there. They've actually got, which they say is Jesus, in a space helmet and a rocket ship.
Okay.
Like a spaceship.
From the 12th century.
From the 12th century.
Wow.
So yeah, I think I've got some pictures on my phone. I wasn't supposed to take them.
Since when have you done what you're told, Lorraine?
Never do what I'm told.
Ever since a girl, eh?
Ever since I was a girl.
That's really, really, really interesting. So, I suppose it opens up a little bit is some of what you've been receiving is through dreams, and very often I get dreams after I've meditated, and you don't always understand it, but sometimes it provides clarity of what's been going on for you in your work, in your everyday life.
Absolutely. Meditation is the best form to get into your higher conscience, to connect with back to the source.
Yeah.
And so I do suggest that people meditate. You know, people say I'm too busy to meditate. Find half an hour. You just need half an hour to meditate every day. And if I can give you some really good advice today, is meditate, set your intentions of what you want to do, like you've already received it. For example, so for you, Neil, I've left my workplace in February of 2024. I'm now free to do this with my life. Thank you, universe. Set your intentions. Remember, you're playing out your own part in this big play.
Really interesting. And you were saying about finding time. I think your own natural sleep pattern means that there are different waves that you go through in your sleep pattern. So you start off quite light, you go quite deep, then you come up to quite light again, before you go back down again. Now, I always find that my best time for meditation is in that circadian rhythm, sort of between 2:30 and 4 o'clock. Just because the body naturally says, okay, you could be awake now if you want to.
Yeah, they used to years ago call it the witching hours, didn't they?
Yeah.
Where people would have come back with information on how to do some kind of herb remedy for their loved one's illness. So it's a very important time, and through meditation is that time, you know, but naturally we would do it if we allowed ourselves to do it, but as human beings we want to control everything, even our own mind thoughts.
And I think that sometimes when you, especially for me when I was first learning to meditate, is you think that you've got to think through your meditation. For me, what works best is thinking nothing. It's almost like I'm getting a black screen with no sound, no sights or anything, and the next thing I know, it's like 3/4 of an hour's gone by, and I think it's time for me to go to bed now, and I go back to bed, and that's when I get the more vivid dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. But with meditation, it's good just to lose control.
Yeah.
Just don't overthink it. Just go with it. I love doing meditation, taking people into meditation, where I take them to their life book so they can look at what what they're going to achieve in the next 3 months of their life. And for example, my friend Azara, she come over on Tuesday, and I took her and my daughter into meditation to write in their life book. And she was going through a really bad stage, as people do, with love, that kind of thing. And then she wrote in her book, her life book, that this particular person would contact her, be more loving towards her again, blah de blah de blah. And I got a message from her yesterday. She said, "Thank you for being a really great friend, but what an amazing gift you've got of taking me into meditation, because he's not stopped ringing and texting me all day."
Fantastic.
But she actually wrote it down. That's what he was going to do.
Excellent. So, I'll tell you what. Do you want to end on a quick 5-minute meditation?
Well, to go to the level that was, it couldn't be 5 minutes. So
Okay,
it would
perhaps another
take
time.
a good 30 minutes. I think what I would have to do is, while you're sitting there, is probably regress you into this meditation. So it will be a good 30-40 minutes.
So yeah,
Keep tuned.
keep tuned. We'll have to do that another time. So
Yeah.
so perhaps next time we can do some actual meditation and
Manifestation. So next time, if you listen to our next podcast, and to do this while I'm doing Neil, maybe if you could all lay on your bed with your earphones on and listen.
Well, they're not going to lay on their bed with Neil then.
No, not with you, Neil. Unless you're a man. I'm joking. And then I can hopefully guide you all in at the same time.
Okay.
It'd be great to see your comments.
Yeah, be
on
good.
That one, yeah.
That'd be very good. And I think next time also, I think we should the cover, I suppose, lost spirits.
Yeah.
Missing spirits.
Miss-
And then if people want to put comments about somebody who's not been in contact with them for some time, see what we can come up with.
Yeah, that would be nice. Maybe a question and answer thing.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Keep tuned.
Okay. Thanks everybody. That's the psychic and the detective, Lorraine and Neil, saying bye for now.
Bye.